It's only been a couple of weeks since the UK's Online Safety Act has been put into place.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time here.
But we've already had fake MP ID generator websites which have completely bypassed some of these ID verification checks that the government have put into place. Yes, you heard that right. Someone's built a tool that creates AI generated government IDs of actual MPs like Keir Starmer, Peter Kyle, and really whoever you want. Just imagine this thought of people using Keir Starmer's fake ID generated passport to access age-restricted content. It's really ironic but incredible at the same time, as these same MPs who voted for mass surveillance are now having their identities spoofed in order to bypass their own surveillance systems. Even video game characters from Death Stranding or even Garry's Mod characters are fooling facial recognition systems as teenagers hold up their phones showing these video game characters as the AIs behind these facial detection systems think that it's scanning real human faces when in fact it's scanning video game 3D models. It's so laughable that the technology used for these ID verification systems is so primitive that cartoon or video game characters are passing these checks while actual adults are getting blocked for looking too young. Now in this video I'll be going over all of the latest details about the Online Safety Act and its implementation, how similar countries are following suit, and how several other websites and services have revealed that they will be implementing their own ID verification checks for UK and non-UK citizens. Let's start with Australia, as they've just announced some of the most extreme internet control measures.
From December 2025, a world-first social media ban will be locking out under 16s forms. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Reddit, X, Snapchat, and YouTube. If you're under 16, you won't be able to use it.
They're asking for mandatory ID verification for even Google searches by December of 2025. This isn't Google Images or YouTube. This is the basic Google text search function which billions use daily. The E-Safety Commissioner of Australia confirmed that this covers all search engines like Bing, Google, DuckDuckGo, basically everything. So if you want to do some research for your homework, you need to show your ID. If you want to look up any health information, your ID needs to be verified so that any searches that you can make can be linked to your identification. This means that governments will know about what news articles or general questions that you're curious about that you want to search for.
I mean, it's a Trojan horse for digital ID, and the Australian government keeps falling down this path. They're censorious in nature.
Just think about this in the future. Imagine if the government implements things that you can and cannot look for. This makes it easy for governments to identify citizens who are against their laws and regulations, or even just curious enough to question them. During all of this drama with the UK's Online Safety Act, Canada has also announced that they are studying to implement similar measures for 2026. Germany started testing search engine age gates in pilot programs, so it seems like governments across the globe are implementing measures to identify what their citizens are searching for. This is a really historic moment, as we are literally watching anonymity on the internet die one country at a time. France also implemented age verification for adult sites through their SREN law. This led to the most dramatic corporate response yet. Pornhub had completely withdrew from the entire French market rather than to comply with their laws. In June of 2025, Pornhub's parent company called the French system dangerous, privacy infringing, and ineffective. They'd warned that a data breach is waiting to happen, and they weren't bluffing, as they had geo-blocked all French users entirely, making their content inaccessible within the country. This is the first time that a major platform like Pornhub has chosen to completely withdraw from a market than to comply with the surveillance of the government. The French law had mandated a double-blind verification system where third-party companies handle ID checks so platforms don't directly see your documents, but Pornhub's operators argued that this still created unacceptable privacy risks from data leaks and hacks. So while everyone at the moment is focused on this social media drama with the Online Safety Act, the UK government has quietly implemented something far more comprehensive. This is the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act. This requires every business director of a company that's set up within the UK to submit verified ID documents to Companies House by the 18th of November 2025. This isn't just exclusive to large corporations, it includes sole traders, partnership members, anyone with business activity, and 25% of the UK's entire population will fall under these requirements. The government sent out mass emails to company directors titled "Identity verification will be required," with chilling language about boosting business growth through mandatory surveillance. They aren't just collecting IDs, they are linking business registration codes to verification profiles. Every business owner's identity gets cross-referenced with their internet activity, so if you're accessing content online that the government deems to be problematic, then your status as a company director of a business in the UK becomes vulnerable to regulatory pressures. Think about it, the timing here is not coincidental. This database launches months after the Online Safety Act has been implemented, and it creates infrastructure to correlate browsing habits with business activity. They can now track who you work with, what companies you own, and how much money flows through your life, and it's all linked to your verified usage of the internet. The EU is taking an alternative approach. Rather than forcing individual websites to verify ages, they are building a centralized, government-run digital ID system that handles verification for all platforms at the same time. This prototype in the EU requires users to upload passports or government IDs to a secure government service, which then issues proof of age tokens to websites. In theory, this prevents your ID from being shared with countless private companies, but in practice, it does create the ultimate surveillance infrastructure. This particular system would use zero-knowledge proofs, so these are mathematical techniques that supposedly prove you're over 18 without revealing your exact age. But privacy experts warn that any centralized ID system could enable comprehensive tracking if it isn't perfectly implemented. Your ID provider could potentially monitor every website that requests for your age verification. And what's worse is that this creates a single point of failure for digital exclusion. So if you get flagged by the EU government ID system, then you are essentially locked out of the entire internet. The EU calls it digital identity, but critics are calling it digital papers. Hand them over, please. How this thing is getting even worse is how the gaming industry has been affected. The gaming world has seen some unprecedented censorship, especially following this incident with Visa and MasterCard, and how they were censoring platforms as they were withdrawing their services as a payment processor for them hosting adult games. Steam didn't just remove adult games, they implemented a preemptive content review system that blocked games before they were even submitted to the platform. itch.io's response was even more extreme, as they de-indexed all not safe for work content from search results, making thousands of indie games effectively invisible. Developers who had spent years building audiences for their work woke up to find that their games had vanished from the platform's discovery system. Now brace yourselves for the real shocker, because Rockstar Games had announced that GTA 6 Online is going to require ID verification for access. They have announced this well before the launch of the game. They're implementing age verification for a game that is rated M for mature, so for over 18s. This means that adults will need to prove that they are adults to play content designed for adults. While the UK implemented visible surveillance, the EU nearly passed something far worse, and this is a law about chat control. It's a proposal that would have mandated real-time scanning of every private message, email, and image that was sent by citizens of the EU. This isn't something theoretical, it was formal legislation requiring all messaging platforms, including encrypted services like Signal and WhatsApp, to scan content before encryption for the purposes of child safety. The UN explicitly stated that this would create mass surveillance incompatible with human rights, but EU policymakers pushed forward anyway. This chat control legislation had some insane technical requirements. Every photo you send would be scanned by AI looking for illegal content. Every message would be analyzed for grooming patterns, and all of this would happen before your messages were encrypted and sent to the next party. Privacy advocates called it the death of private communication in Europe. It was only thanks to massive public outcry which had temporarily stalled this proposal, but it's still being debated as it demonstrates how far authorities are willing to go in order to save the children. If this law is passed in the EU, then it would make China's surveillance look restrained. This is something that pretty much everybody had predicted. These ID verification checks have resulted in VPN usage skyrocketing over the last few weeks. It has also led to an inadvertent side effect of UK businesses not being able to effectively advertise to UK users who appear to be browsing from Germany, Canada, or the United States through VPN connections. The government's surveillance push is accidentally kneecapping their own digital economy. Several websites have decided not to comply with the UK's legislation, like Rule 34, who have blocked all UK users from accessing their website. The UK's battle against encrypted data has escalated beyond what anyone would have expected, as the UK government's pressure had forced Apple to stop offering full end-to-end iCloud backup backups in the UK after some secret orders were made to the company. US officials have said that this could have violated international treaties, revealing how far the UK is willing to go to break encryption. The increasing demands for ID verification do cause some concerns for data breaches. Recently, Co-op had a data breach which exposed over 6 million people's personal information, and the UK Ministry of Defence suffered leaks affecting tens of thousands who now genuinely fear for their lives, according to news reports. These aren't isolated incidents, they are evidence of systematic security failures in organizations handling some of the most sensitive data. These companies who are creating these verification checks are creating honeypots that criminals can specifically target. Security researchers found fake ID verification websites that were spreading across the dark web designed to harvest passport data from users trying to access legitimate content. Yachty and similar services are now recording IP addresses, browser fingerprints, device serial numbers like mobile IMEI numbers, operating system details, and behavioral patterns for every user. They claim that this is for fraud prevention, but they are actually building detailed profiles on how you use technology. Your verification attempt creates a permanent record linking your government ID to your device's unique signature, your internet connection, and to your browsing patterns. All of this data gets shared with these fraud prevention agencies and other verification companies, thus creating a comprehensive network of surveillance. Just imagine if you get flagged by one of these services, then you're blacklisted across the entire verification system. These same companies processing age checks for adult content are building these massive records of your digital behavior, and who knows who they will sell this information to in the future. The technical infrastructure now exists to track verified users across the entire internet, even when they're not accessing age-restricted content. Your ID verification becomes a permanent digital passport that follows you everywhere online, looking at all of your browsing activity and whether if it is compliant with the government or not. The ignorance of UK MPs is embarrassing.
So that we can keep children safe and they can safely explore all the wondrous benefits the internet has, but for too long has been poisoned by some of the harms that have got to children where they never should have done in the first place.
Parliamentary debates show representatives asking, "Have you heard of VPN?" as if discovering some unknown hacker tool. And if you look it up, the last time VPN was mentioned in Parliament was over 18 months ago, despite these tools being central to the legislation that they have just passed. One MP had expressed surprise that teenagers were aware of the UK Online Safety Act and even circumvention methods to bypass it. These boomers in Parliament are crafting internet architecture laws while fundamentally misunderstanding basic digital concepts. They have no idea that teenagers who were born and raised on the internet will discover ways to bypass these online verification checks as a rite of passage in their teenage years. They severely underestimate the intellect of anybody who is under 18. Look at teenagers at school who regularly bypass their school IT administrators' attempts at blocking websites like YouTube. I remember when I was at school, kids as young as 13 and 14 were discovering proxy websites in order to play flash games or watch YouTube videos, and when those proxy websites got banned, they would just discover another proxy site, and they figured out a way how to bypass the school's complete IT surveillance system by figuring out the executable that the school was running in order to monitor their activity on the computer and ending that process so that they could then freely browse any website on the school systems. I was doing all of this stuff at the young age of 13 and 14, so kids online are gonna find a way to bypass these restrictions because that's just what they do. It's a challenge for them to overcome, and MPs do not understand this. I mean, this is, of course, under the assumption that they're doing all of this in order to protect the children, but we all know that this isn't for the safety of the children. The true purpose is for surveillance of every single citizen so that they know what they are browsing, what they are looking at, if they are questioning the official narrative. And I've always been a firm believer of questioning the official narrative. Make sure you look at both sides of the argument before you make a logical conclusion. But it seems like the laws that are being implemented threaten freedom of expression as well as your privacy on the internet, so it's going to make it even more difficult for you to see anything that the government hasn't pre-approved or that isn't just the mainstream narrative.
Parliament gave Ofcom the power to actually impose fines up to 10% of their global turnover. That would be a powerful deterrent to companies to ensure that they abide by online safety laws.
This isn't just happening to the UK, because look at the US with their Kids Online Safety Act. It's gained similar support within Congress as it represents America's version of comprehensive internet surveillance. Unlike the UK's approach, COSAR would empower empower state attorney generals to determine what content is harmful to minors, and they will be able to sue platforms that don't remove said content. This will then create a system where the most restrictive state effectively censors content nationwide. Platforms like YouTube have stated that they will implement their own ID verification systems, as YouTube is using an AI to monitor their users and to determine whether if they are over 18 or not. Spotify also want users to post their ID documents to check if they are over 18. Google is also being pressured to implement ID verification for their search function, and now even games like GTA Online are going to need ID verification to check if you are over 18 or not. It does seem like digital authoritarianism is inevitable with these incremental changes and the implementation of this legislation. People won't even know what they have lost until it's already gone, and the infrastructure to take back all of these ID verification checks is being slowly dismantled. Once your freedoms are taken away from you, then it's very hard to get them back. So if you love privacy in the internet and staying anonymous, and you want to make sure freedom of speech is not affected, then do your part to fight against these government legislations. Just because the UK has passed this law, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the line. You need to do your part to write to your local representatives to fight similar legislation in your country. If there's enough of an outcry, then I do think that this can be reversed before it's too late. But if we quietly do nothing and allow them to take away the internet from us, then we're going to be living in a world where you cannot question the official narrative. Your privacy online will be taken away from you, and every single thing that you do on the internet will be watched and monitored, and your data will be harvested for companies to do as they please, and not to mention authorities being able to question you for your browsing habits. We are headed towards something truly terrifying in the digital space, but we've reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What are your thoughts about the Online Safety Act? What do you think about the end of privacy in the internet and the government's digital authoritarianism that they're implementing? I'd love to know all of your thoughts, so continue the discussion in the comments, and if I've forgotten to mention anything, then let me know. Lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.